You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jourdan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Boom! That's exactly it.
Do that. Let's do that.
Successfully better. Successfully.
I'm just giggling at myself. You know, I've recently had to get out of I'm going to say our element. Just with when you hang out with a bunch of people who do online stuff and do videos and all that, you forget that there's normal people out there. So recently, I've been out there and I'm talking, and I can't tell you the realization of how odd. I really am. So look, I got this new gig. I got this new client, and so I've had to come downtown Atlanta for a couple times. And I'm trying to make myself known. So they put me in like a bullpen. I'm helping people out with what's going on. And finally, they say to me after the bullpen, people started complaining. He's loud. He's this and that. Anyway, so quickest way to get a corner office. They moved me out to quiet me down, and so now you get the corner office. It's the greatest thing in the world to get away from people. So I'm like, it's just like unusual to hang out with people who are reserved, I guess.
Right. Yeah. That's a little life hack for you. You may not make as many friends, but a corner office certainly is nice.
Yeah, that's right. If you want the corner office, that's what you do.
It's not the Dale Carnegie way, unfortunately.
That's right. So Chris Stone, what is going on with
Jourdan, a few things. We got some stuff going on. We had a little VidFest, PodFest thing going on, and we're back in the saddle.
At a VidFest, PodFest.
People show up and there are varying degrees of levels of, so either they're like, hey, I'm thinking about starting something, a show, a video, a podcast, or they're, seasoned vets that are there to speak and impart their knowledge and their wisdom and their acumen on the good people of Orlando, Florida. So yeah, we had a good time at PodFest and VidFest, and I think everybody got better. I mean, maybe not physically, but certainly mentally, as it relates to live streaming and all that
now,
good
do you
stuff.
find that people are more comfortable with it, or what's the main trigger that makes people be successful at it or not?
Well, confidence. It's confidence. It's the number one thing. I used to think it was, consistency, but I gave up on that because I think, a lot of people think they should be doing what we're doing here, or they're putting out a podcast, an audio podcast versus a live show or whatever. And so they come on, you got to do the reps, right? Come on, you got to get consistent. And that's all well and good. But if you don't like what you're doing, and you're not confident in what you're doing, because your passion will breed that confidence, right? Stop doing it. I mean, I used to really just coach people up, and you can't force someone to love something. So if you still want to do podcasting, maybe you should hire someone else to do it for you. And so there's lots of conversations that are happening there, but confidence is absolutely the number one sort of, bit of mind junk that keeps people from being really successful at it. And like you always say, most people don't have the willingness to put forth the work it takes to be successful. And I don't just mean financially successful, but successful at what you're doing.
The line is, most people aren't willing to do the hard work it takes to make X easy. So the podcast easy, yeah, because it takes hard work to do that. The other day, by the way, you hopped on, so I thank you for it. I acted as a producer, and I wanted to make a video for Miss Terry at Interaction, our sponsor, who are awesome people and doing big stuff with. If you got employees, you need to check out Interaction. But I talked to her about how to. We have to make these videos and things like that. And so she goes, okay, so we worked on finally did the video. And then I said, and then when she got on, I said, by the way, this is live. And she's like, by the way, when we were done, she was like, did you see how red my face got? My neck is red. I look horrible. And I'm like, nobody freaking noticed a dang thing,
That's
and
right.
She was great. And did you see me? I was flipping back and forth.
Listen, I was proud of you. Yeah. I have to admit, I was watching to wait and see, like, it was kind of like, what's going to happen is, it's like when you're watching a car, potentially go off the rails, are they going to go off the cliff here or are they going to make the right left turn? But man, you kept it on the road and
there's
always
editing. Well, the reason why I did it there at Interaction is because ironically, our guest today, when I put forth this idea that Ben was coming on, the people at Interaction said, hey, I know that guy. And then I looked around at my LinkedIn profile and everybody knows this guy. And so I said, we got to get this guy on the show. So he's someone who, and I love getting old guys like him on the show.
Oh, God.
Yes, because we can talk about like old school sales, and he has great stories and everyone's going to enjoy it. So without any further ado, please help me welcome my friend who I've known for 1,000 years, but I never really knew him till 2 weeks ago, Ben Cagle.
Deej, how are you, man? Good to see you.
Hey, sorry to keep you in the back room for so long, but you know how Chris Stone is, just blabbing and blabbing. You know how he is.
Yeah, you and Ed McMahon there warming up the crowd. I like it. No, it's good to be on with you guys. I like the talk show format here. So
yeah, well, you see, and that's just the point, Ben. See, you mentioned Ed McMahon. There's a reference that we can no longer use out in public.
And that's why I did it, because of the old guy. I wasn't going to mention Kimmel and all, Fernando, whatever the guy's name is. But anyway, did that because you called me old.
Yes, that's right.
And we'll make sure that that Ben shows up at your doorstep with the Publishers Clearinghouse people, and that you win. So there you go. I'm old too.
Yeah,
there you go. There you go.
So Ben, do you know J.D. Grogan?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a neighbor of mine, and JD's famous for riding around on his monkey outfit on Halloween, but I'm not supposed to tell that. So think about the flying monkey from Wizard of Oz. Again, dating ourselves. He had that outfit, so I always call him Monkey Man. But no, JD is the man, the legend, the myth, man. Yes. Love it.
And Dan, I'm gonna have an HR moment here with you, since we're talking about interaction. Okay, don't use the word old anymore. Let's use the word classic.
Seasoned, classic,
seasoned worked, vintage. Also great adjective there.
Yeah.
For the Jewish contingency out there, they'll know what I mean when I say alta kaka. And so
the last part of the world can't be good.
Yes.
But that's cool. So Ben, you see the way the world happens now. We're doing everything video and all this stuff. But when you first got started with companies, did you have to travel much? Like actually get on a plane and do stuff?
Dude, I had like 2 million miles of domestic air miles with Delta. So yeah, it was all face to face. So it was out Sunday evening, back Thursday night if you're lucky. So a lot of miles selling and telling, Dan. So that's why I look so old. That's why I look seasoned and tired right now.
Well, so it's at old. Now, when did you get? So where was the first place that you tell your story of how you got into this world.
Yeah. So, I went to Georgia Tech. So sorry, Bulldogs, we'll leave that one out there for you. But out of Tech is like, okay, my goals were I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to go play with the big boys and girls in business. And I wanted to get out there and just do things. So I was very fortunate that kind of the first chapter of my career, I started sales in a sales territory for a Canadian manufacturer. and I called on every newspaper publisher there was. Again, dating myself, there used to be newspaper publishers.
All right. Well, so now what does that mean, calling on somebody?
Yeah, so
because that was a phrase we just used to use all the time that we just kind of innately know. But calling on somebody to them means texting.
Yeah, well, if you think about that era, Dan, it was all relationship sales, right? And we had to up our game as we kind of matured and the world changed. But it used to, I was in a fraternity at Tech. I just continued that in the real world. I would travel with my American Express with a few, $100,000 on the expense account. I'd take my golf clubs in the back of the company car, and I would go relate to these, I called it the C level. I was 23, 24 years old, calling on newspaper publishers, going into the top floor. How are you doing? Let's go out to dinner. Let's go to the Rotary Club meeting. And oh, by the way, let's pick up 18, this afternoon, and selling at that level, and then working my way down, literally down the building, the floors, calling on the people that actually used our product. So at that time, you were expected to have a relationship. You were expected to entertain. If you went out for 3 martini lunches, yeah, we did that. But that was the culture back then. So relationship mattered. Yeah, substance and product, feature, function, that came in later.
So when did when did the shift happen that you kind of noticed, hey, we can't do that anymore? Was it a slow, gradual thing, or something you just?
No, it hit every industry at about the same time. But what happened was the customers that we were selling into, they consolidated. So all these media groups started buying up all the independent newspapers around the world. So all of a sudden, instead of having 250 strategic accounts, we had 50. And oh, by the way, the corporate people came in and said, hey, no, you can't buy them any more than a $5 cup of Starbucks without them having to report it and go through an approval process. So all of a sudden, the relationship went away. We had to start coming in with substance. And that really was a primary driver. So the customer's world changed. Technology was coming on, disrupting. So that theme of disruption and responding to change and how you sell, that's been a theme of my career, Dan, all the way through.
Okay, good. So for the people watching, he said something very important there, because most of us, what we do is react to situations. We wait for the bottom to fall out, and then we get started. But he didn't use that word react. He said responding to changes. And that's what thinkers do. And that's what I always tell people that, people think you just kind of fall into sales like it's the last thing you can do. It's just like anybody can do it. It's one of the most intellectual sports out there, and occupations out there. You're constantly responding to changes, not only in the industry, but in changes in your prospects and customers' lives that you have to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And so how did you overcome that the whole industry exploded? Because it's happening now.
I mean, the world was changing rapidly with all this disruption. We were being disrupted on like 5 different levels. I'll spare you the PowerPoint slide. But what happened was, Dan, is what you preach and teach is being intentional. So we were intentional. In this case, we said, hey, look, the world is just, we're upside down. We actually hired McKinsey. We were a, multi-billion-dollar company. We brought McKinsey in, paid them too much money. We flew around the world trying to understand what the macro trends were in our customers and what their needs were and how we could create value. Then we came in and said, okay, how can we structure that value and differentiate? Yeah, relationships were important, but we had to actually have business value, financial relevance, being strategically relevant. So we did that for like 2 years. And they said, okay, you sales guys, you're so smart figuring all this out. Go run the company. So I actually went from sales into, marketing and sales and product management into actually running a profit loss statement, global business unit across the world. And we had to change the basis of how we related to customers there.
And how old are you at this time?
That learning was incredible. Yeah.
How old are you at this time?
I was about 31, 32, running about, in today's dollars, almost $1 billion business.
Right. So good. And so, but here's the thing. The older people obviously had more experience. They weren't willing to learn the new stuff.
They called us, hey, Dan, they called us the Young Turks. So there's like 6 of us. That's with a K, by the way. All right, so the Turks. So we had to. So they brought us in to run the business, but it's like, okay, we turned it around. We got customer value teams going on. We trained our sales force up. We were selling higher in the organization, even higher. We were selling across the organization. We made sure we were buttoned up from the C-suite all the way down to the ground level in this new approach we were into. So, man, I was traveling, working at customers, in Sao Paulo and Tel Aviv and all across the U.S. So, man, it was hectic, heady times. We were getting it done.
So let me ask you this, because 31 is like the perfect age for someone to be in that, they're growing in that kind of upper management things. And people go two ways. Some people get really, really cocky and, think that they're, God's gift and, don't talk to me and drink a lot. And get divorced and have alimony and all that stuff. Or you can go the other way, which is much more difficult. And how did you manage that with a good Southern boy like yourself?
Yeah. I mean, there's a spiritual component. So, but you being Jewish, I'll spare you that.
No, please.
All right. So at that time, I remember when it hit me. There were a couple of moments. One is that we were expecting our first child. I was outside of the room. It wasn't the delivery room, but our first daughter was breech. Being right side up, you need to get them turned. So I had 3 OBGYNs trying to turn my daughter in my wife's stomach, externally, and she was screaming in pain. Meanwhile, I was called out on my phone. We were actually negotiating with a banking consortium of about, $400 million deal to refinance our manufacturing unit. I'm on the phone with the banking consortium. My wife is in there screaming. I know that basically technology is going to disrupt this. I said, whoa, I am out of alignment here. This is not working. I need to make a major change in my life.
So you got divorced?
Yeah, I got divorced. My third wife is so hot now. She's no. So what happened was I knew I had to make a change. So I looked around, Dan. I said, okay, what do I have in my toolkit, right? What have I picked up? I got sales, marketing, strategy, run a P&L. I can run a business. I'm just in the wrong industry. So what do you do? So I looked around. I said, okay, what's happening? ERP and technology was taking off, all the investment in technology. I said, I've got to get into technology, but I'm in a low-tech industry. So I was fortunate that a friend that knew of a friend that knew of a recruiter, executive recruiter, and they were looking for people that didn't know technology, but understood business and how to improve business with technology. So I actually came in and transitioned to the second chapter of my career out of manufacturing into technology consulting. And I became a consulting partner and eventually a practice leader. The company's now HP Enterprise and DXC Technology. So I was a consulting guy talking at the C-level, talking business results, strategies, business outcomes. Why would they want to buy our technology? It's not because we wined and dined them. It was because it solved a business problem that can make them millions of dollars or save them millions of dollars.
Yeah,
and this is I was outsourcing all that. So that value, talking business, and that's poor English, but I'll say it anyway. Talking good business with them and understanding what their drive was made all the difference. And that really helped boost my career over the techies that were leading with feature function, technology versus starting with the business outcome. And what are we trying to do here? We're trying to get, $100 million of cost out of our global business. Well, let's have that conversation. And oh, by the way, here's how the technology does it.
All right. I want to dig into that, because I'm personally interested in it. But first, I have to chastise you for doing one of my pet peeves. For the car buying public, what is ERP?
ERP, thank you, is Enterprise Resource Planning Software. So these are
it's basically software that takes people the whole gamut of their business. It's an enterprise level.
Think SAP.
Okay,
right?
good.
Everyone knows the brand name.
All right, and then DXL, or what'd you say? DXP?
DXC is a technology company. That's the acronym. Everything.
Okay. The reason I say that is, as soon as in sales, as soon as you say, this is for everyone out there, as soon as you say something that somebody doesn't understand, two things happen. One, they like you a little bit less because they think you're calling them an idiot because they don't know it, and you say it so casually like they should know it. So that, and secondly, they don't hear anything else you say after that.
Yep.
That's why trial closes are so important. Make sense? Are you with me? Are we still on the same page? So that's why they're so important, to make sure you don't lose them. So, so the computer world, when you were starting that, it was brand new. You would go into places and they had no system. What do you mean you have no?
They had old systems, and outsourcing was taking. Think about outsourcing your information technology to India. All those trends were happening. So again, you're hearing the same themes here, Dan, of disruption, macro change going on. And I'm like leaning into that, trying to catch the next wave from a career standpoint to take advantage of the change, understand the change, and really create value for customers, helping them understand, how this is impacting their business.
So for the software salesperson today who is selling, cloud-based types of items, but to do the same thing, make your business more efficient, give you more profit, you're able to scale better, but you're not selling against nothing or an old antiquated system. You're selling against something that was awesome, like 3 months ago.
Yeah, but Dan, what's happened is we did some research, and I actually coached, I'll name drop here, Cisco, SAS, and Lenovo, and some other enterprise companies that are selling, cloud, and that we won't go down a rabbit trail. Let's touch on cloud. There are now 12 stakeholders at least. I work with another Cagle partner company called Finlistics. They did some research. There's at least 12 stakeholders, so you can't call on just the CIO or the IT people. You've got to go and talk about how cloud enables your omni-channel strategy. In other words, if you're in retail, how can your customer order online, order in the store, pick up in the store, return to the store, or have it shipped? You have to understand how all that works for marketing. How does cloud support that? How does cloud support the analytics to help you understand your customer better, Mr. or Ms. Retailer? So you really have to come in again with that business focus, whether you're selling cloud, which everybody go, that's just infrastructure. Call on the VP of infrastructure. They'll just give you the order, and you can do your speeds and feeds. Again, how fast a cloud or a data center performs. But you've really got to have that business value, that strategic perspective, and that financial perspective in addition to the technology now, or you're being left behind. I mean, that's where it's going.
So how do you find? So you're a company. What's the name of your company, by the way?
Yeah, Cagle Consulting Partners. Fairly original.
Consulting Partners. So how do you go ahead and who's a perfect customer for you?
Yeah, well, I sell basically, or we help customers on 3 levels. So I work with a Cagle partner company called Finlistics, and we call on large enterprise accounts. So think again, IBM, Cisco, SAS, Lenovo, and some other technology leaders. And the problems we're solving for those big companies at the global enterprise level, Dan, is basically helping them have that C-suite conversation and helping them articulate and quantify the value of their solutions to the business people. So I'll be in Amsterdam doing some training and account planning with some of the large customers later this month. And I spent all of basically COVID spending 2 years coaching, people literally around the world on 4 or 5 continents, how you're having these conversations in the changing world of Zoom and WebEx and all that. So that's kind of the large customers. But my Cagle Consulting Partners, our best client is a tech company or a business that's about 5 million at the low end, 250 at the big end, and they're having difficulties understanding this change, getting alignment between marketing, sales enablement, solution in terms of having the right conversation, and then training the salespeople up, saying, hey, how are we going to do this? How are we going to go have that conversation? How do I even get an appointment? Dan, you talk about this a lot. How do you get the appointment at the C level versus having to, you never sell up, come over the top. It's easier to sell down and get sponsorship than trying to work your way up from the bottom, right?
So how is that done now? How do you suggest the initial reach out to the CEO?
Yeah. So let me kind of tell about my 3rd chapter of my career, and I'll put it in perspective, and then I'll elevate and answer that question.
You see how he just takes control, Chris Stone? I mean, that's the type of guy he is.
Well, I don't have my number 2 guy. Like if I had a Chris, man, this would be.
I know. Everybody needs a Chris Stone.
Stick around, Ben. I don't know how long I'm going to be on this show. So.
Yeah.
Hey, we're at Cagle Partners. We're hiring, and that's CaglePartners.com.
You heard that, Dan? Let's get a bidding war happening live on Dan Jourdan. Here we go.
There you go. It's all about price. But the third, after I left big consulting, I've actually run venture capital software companies, different consulting companies that we bought and sold, those kinds of things. So I've really had to implement this, Dan, in terms of kind of lessons learned. So again, I've been on both sides of the table. I've been on the receiving ends of very, very bad sales presentations and meetings. And I've also had to either equip myself or my teams to go have these conversations out there. So that's kind of where we are. But coming around in terms of how you get into that C-level conversation. Mm-hmm. Simply, if you're calling on a large global account, and I'll talk about, if your customers are smaller, but even if you're calling on nothing wrong with this, but a lawn service that has 20 mowing teams out there, right? There are 2 things you're going to talk about. And if you're talking to a big company, there are 2, I call them magic PowerPoint slides that exist out there. Ooh. One slide is, here's the 5 things we're going to accomplish this year. We're going to implement cloud. We're going to get better customer, interactions. We're going to, get our costs out and all this. There's 5 things there. And then financially, again, with Finlistics, we actually have tools to quantify this. What's the financial impact? We're trying to take, again, $20 million of cost out of the business. So when you're thinking about the C-level, don't think about yourself. What has 2 thumbs and only thinks about themselves? The CEO. Think about what their business priorities are and their financial priorities are first. You've got to be relevant. And that's, again, to your points that I've been listening to you. You've got to be relevant and intentional. So understanding what their agenda is. So we research that and then see how your solution enables that. Now, I coach some startups in artificial intelligence as well. That's kind of the 3rd level down, if you will, in terms of some of our clients. And we've gotten startups to have CEO meetings coming through the chief innovation officer, because the priority for that CEO was, we're going to use artificial intelligence to gain competitive advantage with customers. Well, guess what? With that startup, we went right to the CIO, the innovation officer, who sponsored us over to the CEO and the COO and everything else. So you've got to be relevant at that executive level. Mm-hmm. So if you take that to, okay, let's say, hey, look, I'm calling on, again, nothing wrong with it. I'm calling on a landscaper with 20 mowing crews. Well, what do you think that the agenda is for that, that landscape president, right? They built the business from scratch. Well, finding, they're probably high turnover in labor, right? That's relevant. Finding, how to schedule and make sure that, they're putting blades on grass, as many hours of the day as they can to be as productive as they can, right? So what we're doing is thinking, putting yourself in that seat. If you were running their business, what would your priorities be? And then how does your solution enable that? So if you've got an HR solution, how do you help them retain, employees? Or how do you help them grow a mower to a crew lead into a shift manager? You've got to think about their problems and be relevant.
Right. So you have those 2 things, but again, so your initial reach out is the 5 things the 5 challenges you're facing, and the solution to that challenge. I would pick one. And there's another adage. I worked with the chief marketing officer of Coca-Cola at one point, working with his brand and marketing strategy firm. And he says, another lesson learned, everything communicates, right? Everything you say communicates. So if you're talking about their problems, you're talking about their business results, the odds of them wanting to spend time with you is going to be much higher. So I really suggest, thinking through, it doesn't have to be 5 things or 2 things. Maybe it's the one thing you can actually help them with to improve their business. Go talk about that first. And oh, by the way, here's my company. And how do you reach out to them? What's your preferred method for?
Well, it's always proven. I mean, and you talk about building your network. I mean, obviously a warm introduction in, and not just saying, hey, you need to meet this guy to hear about his great software, but hey, I know a guy, or I know a person. I think they can help you with this problem you're having. I think it's going to be worth a 15-minute, coffee or a 15-minute Zoom meeting with. Would you take that meeting? So minimal ask. Make it odd, Dan. Don't make it he needs 30 minutes of your time. No. He needs 18 minutes of your time, 20 minutes of your time. Be different, and also be respectful, because everyone's scheduled in half-hour increments. Give them 10 minutes back. They'll love you just for not eating up all their time.
That's a good little tip there.
There you go.
20-minute calls instead of.
I still recommend this to IBM and some of the other people. Just ask for 20 minutes, or if it's an hour, ask for 45. Give them 15 minutes back for a bio break, or just to recover from the back-to-back Zoom meetings on their schedule. And it just makes you stand out. It communicates. You respect their time. You're there not to waste their time. You're there to improve their business and really talk about their business. And oh, by the way, here's how we're going to do that. I tell you,
you're actually just showing respect.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just common respect and decency. I have my father-in-law, one of the father-in-laws, through divorces, he was Chris knows, I've talked about it, the guy's name was Earl Geiger, but he actually merged a deal between Orkin and Rollins Corporation. He was that guy who merged those two companies together. He brought them public in that whole thing, and he was like the only non-family member in the C-suite of Rollins, and he was the VP of sales, and he was a monster. He'd fire you for back then, in the 70s, they'd fire you for, anything. If you were late for any reason, you're just done. See you later, potato. So I went to meet him, and he for the first time, very intimidating. And he sat me down and he said this to me. He said, Danny, you could take away my house. You could take away my cars, my plane, my job, my money, my family. He goes, I can get all that back. He says, you take my time and it's gone forever. Do not waste my time. And as soon as you realize how valuable your time is, you may have a chance.
Yeah. That great story. I love that story. And to put this in perspective, when I was running a company, it was a turnaround. My calendar was managed in 15-minute increments for about 6 months. So it was about $120 million business, 900 employees around the world. We were about, I won't say how much, but we were a few weeks for not making payroll. So I was focused on, we had to get rid of about 20% of the workforce just to save the other 80. But the key point there is exactly what you're saying is I didn't have time to be friends. I didn't have time to say, hey, what do you think? Tell me what keeps you up at night.
Yeah.
Get out of here. No.
That's right.
Ben, I think I've got an idea to help you take some cost out after you take, unfortunately you have to do your head count, sorry. But after you do that, we can take another 15% of cost out by automating X or doing this. All ears. And I've only got 15 minutes because my admin, we had a signal and you were out, you had 2 minutes she knew to punch you out and then pull me out of the meeting because I had to go to the next one. I did not have time to focus around that. That was a hyper situation, it was a short term. But it does illustrate the point exactly like you said, Dan. It illustrates the point of always respect their time. Don't waste their time. They don't want to be your friend. Eventually, you can be their friend, but don't leave with that. I've got friends.
Yeah, that's right. I tell people it's a lot easier to make a friend out of a customer than it is to make a customer out of a friend.
There you go. I've got so much time to either get results, to save this much money, to save the company, or to grow the company, or to acquire this other company. Don't waste my time. Respect my time. Come in and be relevant. Be intentional. Yeah,
and you got to think about it for yourself as the person who's going. Man, I don't want that burden. I mean, what if you got a year left and you're going to have a heart attack or something? I don't want to take away an hour. That's your life, man. I don't want that burden. So and I tell that to people in marketing as well. The purpose of a headline is for someone to read the next line. Like the headline needs to be powerful enough to get you to, if your name is Ben and you're over 40, you must read this. That's going to get you to read the next line. So a lot of times people save their best for last. I go, baby, they're never going to get there.
No,
with what you got.
And the other thing, what I like about you, Dan, is that, you've got a spine. You're not afraid of anything. You'll try it, getting on the plane and how to make small talk and all that. But a lot of sales reps that I talk to literally around the world, they're afraid to go have that conversation. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm not relevant? Here's the thing, being on the other side of the desk, when people came in and at least they tried and they gave it some thought, I would respect that, because I've been in that same situation. You know, I came up through the ranks. I worked my way up. I respect that you did the homework and tried, and I would actually give those guys a little, you know, call a little bit of grace that, okay, and a little bit of coaching saying, yeah, that's not quite our highest priority, but if you got anything over here in this area, and almost, you know, it's almost like volleyball. I was trying to bump the ball to them so they could set it up and spike it, right? So,
yeah, you always say, come back when you got something better. There's a famous story with, actually, it's with Richard Nixon. I don't know why I remember this, but a speechwriter came to him with their speech and gave it to him. And he looked at it, he goes, "Is this the best you can do?" And the guy looked at him, he goes, "Go ahead and bring it back when it's the best you can do." And the guy came back with another thing, and he goes, "Is this the best you got?" And he said, and he just gave it back to him. Came back 3 times, and so finally the guy learned. I only bring him. I brought him. He goes, "This is the best I can do."
Yeah. Now we're not talking price, We're not talking price negotiation. We're talking solution.
Yeah. Well, that was my solution. Oh, you see, you go right to price. That's the thing about you.
That's what I'm saying is avoid that. If you don't establish value and relevance first, never float your price. But that's another conversation. And
so how do you see with the larger companies that you're dealing with? I should tell people, you know, in a service business or a software business or something like that, there is no price. It doesn't matter what it is, because if you're saving somebody $20 million, you know, that's like earning $20 million. How much are you willing to pay? How much were you willing to give me if I were to give you $20 million? You know,
exactly.
Something less than $20 million.
But Dan, you bring up a good point though. But you got to have that. You can't have that conversation with the manager of IT, of information technology. You've got to have that conversation with someone who cares about it. Which again is, you know, if you're, you know, even if, you know, you're selling insurance, you're selling, you know, HR services or whatever you're selling to small, mid-sized companies, it's the same concept, right? You cannot sell to the office manager if he or she is just an administrator and just, you know, turns the lights on. You're going to have that conversation with the business owner. But in the corporate case, you've got to have that conversation at probably the EVP level, and you've got to have it outside of technology to establish the value. Say, hey, this is $20 million, and you're trying to beat me up over a, you know, $200,000 discount. Really?
Yeah.
You know, are we really going there? Okay. But that means you have to establish the value first before you start selling on price.
Yeah, you know, but some of those companies, here's a challenge that's happening. Some companies are just so profitable right now. I mean, you saved Deloitte and Touche, you know, $3 million. You know, it's paper clips. It's more than that. How do you, for a company that has more money than they know what to do with, how do you sell into those? Because it's not a price issue.
Well, again, you know, the classic, you know, there's 2 classic principles in selling technology, really selling in general. You sell on fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD. You know, if you don't do this, you're going, you know, you'll be positioned. Don't do that, right? Or you're selling on, you know, kind of betting on the come here in terms of here's what it can do for you. So if the company's successful, you're not going to, and they're growing by acquisition or organic growth, you're not going to sell them anything growth related. But if they're growing so fast and they have to keep adding people, we all know what's happening with the labor market these days. How can you help their people, their salespeople or their operations people, be more effective or efficient? Go sell that if you got that solution. Or if they are doing the growth agenda, you know, so if you're on the revenue side or the cost side, if you're on the revenue side, they're growing rapidly. How do you help them integrate those acquisitions faster? You know, take costs out.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's good.
You got to be, again, relevant to the financial and the strategic of what they're trying to do. But yeah, you're not going to sell, you know, if they're growing rapidly, you know, it's like, hey, I don't need any of that. But if you can help me grow and not add more people, yeah, maybe that's a conversation. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. Or prevent yourself from getting sued, whatever problem they're having. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you mentioned risk. So there's this whole trend about ESG. I don't know. Again, environmental, societal, and governance. More and more companies, big companies, are really worried about the risk of the environment. Well, I don't care what you're political. We won't go political on this. You know, but they're really worried about environmental. They're worried about society issues, diversity, inclusion, right? and they're worried about governance, which is all the how do you administrate that risk and make sure you're not getting your business in a risky situation. So it's not just strategic or financial. There's also this risk component. And a lot of software companies out there, they actually mitigate risk, and you should really bring that into your value proposition, into your messaging. Make sure your sales enablement people are bringing that in addition to, hey, we're going to help you grow your business, save costs, and manage your risk. So that risk component is like the emerging, next major trend that people are working with.
Really? So, and you say this goes back to your whole thing, responding to the changing environment that's happening right now. So, where do you see the biggest changes which would intonate opportunity?
Yeah, I think it's going to trickle down. So I picked this up back when COVID happened. We were coaching some teams, some tech teams, infrastructure company, selling into Western and Central European banks, right? And that became, when I started looking at the bank strategies and their priorities, they weren't even profitability wasn't even on there. They were talking about is environmental, societal, and governance. So we're in compliance, and we're not going to invest anymore in carbon, based, manufacturing businesses. So we started picking it up there in Europe in banking, right? Because they're all about compliance and regulatory and trust and all that. That's where it began. But then other companies in Europe started to really message around that. And then that trend came over to the U.S. based companies as well. So that's happening there. So again, if you're selling into global enterprise, revenue, cost, and risk, or ESG, environment, societal, and governance, make sure you're thinking through what value you create, and make sure your marketing and sales enablement people are giving you messaging around that. If you're talking
what does that mean? For the layman, what does that mean? And so I'm telling them that 10% of the profits from our business goes to planting trees.
It can be. So how are you environmentally friendly? That could be part of the environmental, or it can be our analytics company, our analytics software helps you understand and predict what industries are going to be carbon based, or what percentage of your investments go to carbon based businesses. So it helps them be compliant with their own kind of governance there. So that's kind of the strategic. Let's don't get too complicated on that. I just wanted to put it on people's radar.
No, that's interesting.
But so you got to think about that other dimension. And it's emerging. And I coached some teams in Asia Pacific last week, actually, online. And this is actually, it's going around the globe. So whatever happens in big companies in different industries, they all start to catch on to it and get into it. So
how could the smaller company utilize that information?
Well, again, if you're talking, you're a small company. Again, are you helping them be more compliant with federal regulations? Are you helping them be more compliant with their own policies? One of the big tech companies, they're saying, well, this sounds very complicated. No. Don't overthink it. Just give them an analytics scorecard telling them how they're doing. Are their investments increasing in manufacturers that use oil, or decreasing in manufacturers that use oil? They go, really? Okay, yeah, go sell that. And then when it sold that, it's like they thought that was the greatest idea ever. The customer did. So it doesn't have to be that complicated. But if you're a small company selling to another small company, again, you don't have forget the politics. I'm not left side, right side. Forget that. Just again, what's relevant to that owner? Do they care for their people? Then make sure your solution is talking about the diversity and inclusion, how you guys, either your company is, or you respect that, or how you enable that. It's another check mark to create value. That's all I'm saying. Add that bucket of risk and ESG to your thinking. Cybersecurity companies I work with do that as well. Even though they're there to protect against hacking and ransomware, they're also saying, well, how are we helping them become more compliant with their environmental or their societal employee, respect for the communities they're in? And it really adds another dimension that does what? Help you be more relevant to the decision makers. It helps you differentiate as well and sell at a premium.
You're so much smarter than Chris Stone. No, you're so much smarter than I thought you were.
Well, yeah.
It's a Southern accent. I used to work in New York. Hey, Dan, so Hasidic Jews, I would negotiate with them in New York. Here I'm from the South, right? So I would turn up the Southern crank, how's your mom and them, in New York, just so they thought my eyes went down a little bit. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Chris,
Absolutely.
you're from Duluth, Georgia. Yeah, you use a how's your mom?
I'm originally from Detroit, but my wife is from Chevville, Tennessee, so I'm very familiar with how's your mom and them. And by the way, I'm going to take this a little bit off. I see a replica of a Marshall amplifier behind you on your desk, so you must be a guitar player.
Well, no, just a rocker, reform rocker here. So
okay,
think again. From Motown to Parliament Funk to all the way through to Lizzo,
Okay, P-Funk.
So we go all right. B-Funk is likes all kinds of music. We rock it out. So that's the music representation.
What do you know about P-Funk, Dan?
I know nothing about P-Funk.
Oh, you need a little P-Funk in your life. A little George Clinton, a little Atomic Dog, maybe?
There you go. I'm not worthy, Chris. I'm not worthy. You're good.
Yeah, you can name any song. He'll know
it's
them
a
all.
sickness. It's a sickness.
Yeah, I like every genre, right? But
What's the family? Tell me your family structure. What's going on?
Family structure. I live in the Eston house, or used to. So it was all 2 daughters and my wife here. So so they taught me. They still teach me about the music. So I'm getting into Dua Lipa and Lizzo. That's a bit dated now, but they keep me current. But 2 adult daughters, both in the medical profession. One's a nurse practitioner for pediatric cardiology. The other works with oncology patients in cancer. So very proud of both. Very blessed. Yeah.
You'll never get sick.
Now, my wife, it's like she gets house called. The girls, I can see them rolling their eyes every time my wife calls them with a question. So yeah, we get free.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of just not getting sick. It's so much easier.
Yeah, just ignore it and move on, right? No.
That's right. I'm just like a typical guy. I don't want to. You ever do that? You get like a pain, and you're like, in your chest, and you're like, hey, it'll go away.
Yeah, power through.
Dan, when you and I were like 8 years old, we're playing baseball. Hey, rub some dirt on it. You'll get over it. Oh yeah,
that's right. Walk it off.
Walk it off. Yeah, that's the other one.
Walk it off. Right.
You get hit in the crotch. You can't breathe. Yeah, just walk it off.
Walk it off.
Those are things that you were literally taught. I was taught by my
terrible lessons from our forefathers, right there, wasn't it? Walk it off.
My farm league baseball coach. Sometimes you get hit. You get hit in the. He used to call it the pills. You get the ball. You get hit in the pills, and so on the ground. And he says, grab your leg. I'm like, so why am I grabbing my leg? He goes, so the TV cameras won't see them, right on holding your nuts.
Right,
like that was his thing.
Yeah.
That was his thing.
Yeah, we didn't get participation trophies back then. If your arm was broken, you had to play the 4th quarter. Hey.
I remember, somebody, how come you're not playing my son? And the coach went back, because he sucks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now it's paid to
want to win.
I was talking to my friend Joel Haspel like last week, and somehow we got on and he goes, remember when I missed that catch in left field? It was like, he goes, that was like the last time I played baseball. It was his mom screamed at him, Joel, you stink. His mom.
Thanks for that support, Mom.
He lost the game. We're 8 years old, but he remembered it now.
No, we were scarred. I need a comfort dog just when I go back and think about all the abuse we used to catch,
and like riding your bicycles, a helmet. You wore a helmet. You were a weirdo.
Yeah, I mean, we took the seats off of our spider bikes. That's another one. Look it up, Google it. And we break a picnic table bench, break off one leg so it'll be a ramp, and we just go off of that. And it's like, good luck in the contest.
Are you kidding me? I was evil Jourdan. I mean, I jumped.
Hey, Dan, the Jew that flew.
Boom.
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 Culturally insensitive, not racist or anti-Semitic. Culturally insensitive only. All right, there.
Like I care.
Anyway, man.
Actually, I was about to tell a joke that I really cannot say right now.
Self-censor.
Right. Yeah. But listen. But see this, what we're doing right now. Like this is when you talk about building relationships.
Yeah.
This is that. Just talking about some sort of commonalities. I found that since this whole China virus thing happened, that people are just getting back, kind of meeting each other, and like the skill of small talk has been like it needs to be taught, I guess.
Yeah.
Are you noticing that?
Yeah, we get a lot during COVID and even coming out of it because everyone's converted to Zoom or WebEx. How do you build rapport? How do you do that? And what another little kind of tidbit coaching here, Dan. So maybe this will be a 2-minute bullet point on one of your daily updates here. But again, you schedule the meeting for 20 minutes versus 30. But ask the leader that you want to have time with. Hey, do you mind just hanging on about 3 more minutes? I've got an idea I want to float by you. And try to relate, so you get everyone else off. That kind of is their signal to go off. If you got 12 people on the Zoom call, and then just say, "Hey, I was just thinking about this. Is this just help me?" I love this phrase. This is the phrase that pays. Help me understand. Help me understand. Is this idea, would that be relevant to you? And just get into a one-on-one. And it's amazing how many people will do that. And then you still give them 5 minutes back. You don't keep them past that. Respect their time. But that's another way on Zoom, WebEx, a little, tactical and practical in terms of starting to build rapport like that.
That's cool. Okay, I got a question. I just was reminded of. Oh, there I am.
There's Dan coming up.
Oh my gosh! You look at these crashes. This poor guy.
Yeah. Evil. There's Dan right now. There's Dan.
That was a Harley Davidson. That thing was not meant for jumping. It wasn't meant for driving. Those things were just.
It was meant for killing us. It was meant for breaking every bone. Yeah, there's Dan. It's amazing. And yes.
That wasn't me. Gary Zisman jumped over with the picnic table and he flew past the landing ramp and his feet came off the pedals. It was like the most painful for all of us. It was painful.
Yes. Yeah. When the bone's sticking out of your arm, you've done it right. Yes.
Yeah. Now that is Chris Stone not the world's best producer?
Any chance I get to pull up an Evel Knievel video, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah,
sorry.
Chris again, snaps and claps for Chris on that one. Yes,
I went back home when my dad died. We went home to New Jersey for the funeral, and all my friends came, the whole neighborhood and all that stuff, and my kids were there, and so I'd forgotten a bunch of stories. I didn't know any of the stories. Anyway, so actually, I think it was Gary Zisman was telling my kids about Evil Jourdan. Like I had never told them so, and it was like my proudest moment. You never told me that you were Evil Jourdan.
That's why the hospital bills were so high. Yeah,
it was a big event. No, never broke a bone.
Oh, there you go.
That was my thing. Even back then, I wouldn't do it. I got a couple stitches.
Yeah, there you go. We'll look at those. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta. But okay, cool. So Ben, I'm trying to think of how does somebody refer you or to recommend you? What do you need?
Yeah. So my ask would be, and look forward to it. If there is a business owner out there or a senior executive with a technology or any kind of business that's looking to grow, right, or understand how they're going to compete. They've got new competitors coming in. The world's changed. Their customers' worlds have changed. What I typically do is just this, Dan. I go in and understand and bring different perspective from different industries and just engage in a conversation. If they want to take it further, what we do is typically I work just, hey, 1 month. If you want a contract, I'll sign a contract. No, 1 month. Here's my fee. Let's work together. And if I'm not creating value, I won't take your money. And I really don't want to go forward with you. But it's because what happens, Dan, is everyone goes, well, this is a sales issue. It's the sales rep's fault. We're not selling more. No. What I've learned by running organizations is that if you don't have the right target, the right solution, and the right positioning, that market permission to compete there, and that's more of a strategic issue. It's not a sales issue. It's not a marketing issue. It's not a lead gen issue. It is a company issue. If senior level executives don't understand that who you're calling on, not just the size of the company and the industry, but what's the customer situation. If you don't understand not your solutions, but what problems you're solving, what's the value of solving that. And if you're not really positioned there, it's like you don't really have market permission. You're not expected to compete in that space. You're not branding yourself properly. If you don't get that right, you can throw 1,000 sales reps at it and they're just going to bang their head. Now, 1 or 2 will break through, but no one can afford that in today's environment. You've got to be smart. That's why the theme, if you hit my website, caglepartners.com, hunt smart, hunt focused, hunt fast. By doing that, it's actually going to save time, all right, by getting your act together. So a lot of what I do is help sales, marketing, senior level executives, lead gen, sales enablement work together to be effective, to differentiate, and to give them the materials they need to go up and over to sell higher in the C-suite. So that's basically.
Ben, let me play devil's advocate.
Okay, go for it.
We do $30 million already with this. You think we don't know who our customer is?
Yeah, you know,
we didn't just fall into this.
No. But now, what happens 9 times out of 10, Dan, they know who their customer is. They know who they sell to. They know how large they are, what industry. They don't know the situation they're in. What is that customer situation? Are they the leaders or the laggards? Is their industry being disrupted and they're trying to, respond to that? Are they trying to grow the company, or just, hey, we're happy, we're going to milk this thing like a cash cow and just be cost focused? We just want to do on cost. Most tech companies, most consulting companies don't have that perspective. So it's not just targeting in terms of, again, the industries and size. It's what's their situation and what situation you're going to be relevant in. So you got to connect the dots. It's like a 3-leg stool. If you don't have your situational targeting tied in with the problems you're solving, tied in with your positioning, if you change any one of the 3 of that, you're out of alignment. And all you're going to be doing is wasting sales reps' time. And you're going to be wasting a lot of money and time in the market. So that's why I said, get your act together, up the funnel, if you will. Think about the sales funnel. Get it upstream and get that tight. And you're going to say your sales reps are going to be happier. They're going to be more effective. But more importantly, you're going to increase the number of opportunities. You're going to increase your close rate. And you're going to basically come downstream. Your revenue is going to go up. So you got to get all those pieces together.
Well, after somebody works with you, is their business generally more valuable for an acquisition?
Yeah, that's one scenario that they engage us on. But even a small company, and I've worked with companies doing like 3 million, 2 million. I work with tech startups with no revenue, and we've been able to grow it like a mid-sized firm. Again, true numbers, grow at 30% in less than 4 months, just by increasing their hit rate, increasing their access, and increasing their effectiveness.
What's hit rate mean?
Hit rate conversion, sell more. So they went from, basically their revenue, their net revenue. That's my scorecard, is how much revenue we put on the top line. Their revenue went up by 30% in about 4 months. In a couple, not, disclaimer, we can't guarantee this. Some situations, apply. But overall, we're there for results. The first question I ask is, I have a graphic that has a little $ at the right side. I go, let's fill that number in. Where do you want to be? Now let's reverse engineer this all the way back to your targeting position solution. Make sure your organization is designed to deliver that. And again, what I've learned all this, I put like 25 years of experience into one PowerPoint slide. It's like, and that's my diagnostic. It's like I check your temperature, your oil, or I get your blood pressure, your temperature. If I could tell you where the breakdown is there, just because I've run these companies.
Well, you got to send me. How can I get that slide?
Hit me on ben@caglepartners.com, or just hit my website, and we'll set you up on that one. But for you, I'll license it because you'll rebrand it and use it as your own, Dan.
That's right. Well, this has been great. Chris Stone.
I can't thank you guys for having me on. Dan, thanks. Chris, you're pro. You're pro. You brought it, Chris.
In the past couple weeks, just some people that you could just say a couple words and let them roll. You didn't have to add anything. A lot of times Chris Stone has to save me and ask a question like, tell me about that.
Well, all my friends that are watching, they're laughing right now saying, oh, Ben's never had that problem.
Hey, we don't have to be the best show, Ben, but we just want to be the one that you have the most fun on. So
that's it.
Well, you achieved that goal. So, guys, again, a great time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is awesome. We appreciate it. For all you people out there watching, just remember, whatever your business is doing right now, however you're doing, you can always, you can't afford not to have an outside, massive sized brain just checking it out and giving you ideas. Just one little idea, if it can up you 10, 20, 30%, it brings you to the next level, and what happens is you get to the end of the ledge, and then you can see even more. But you have to start from some outside input. So if you want to do that, go to my man Ben Cagle. He's slightly better than me. Chris Stone, nothing is better than you. You're killing it. Oh, look who's. We got to put something. We're getting Richard Booty's in the house. And you know what he's talking? Look at that. Excellent insight.
Sometimes when the show is so good, you just got to lurk.
That's
And
right.
Richard Booty, former guest here on Dan Jourdan Live, is loving the insights. And
So Ben Cagle, you can appreciate this and count it as your official booty call. You guys are the best. I'm the Deej. Let's go get them today.
Go
Thanks
get
so
them.
much.